Have you ever transcended time and space?
Yeah. Well, time, not space. No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. There are just a couple rules. Number 1, the universe is an infinite sphere whose center is everywhere but whose circumference is nowhere. Number 2, there is no difference between you and me.
So there's nothing.
Number 3, there's no such thing as nothing.
Well, then what happens in a meadow at dusk?
Everything.
Nothing.
Everything.
Nothing.
Everything. Hi, I'm Alana.
And I'm Zach.
And we are Levity Farms.
Today we're going to talk about climate resiliency and how to mitigate issues that are arising with an erratic climate, and tools and techniques and strategies that we use to ensure that we get the most out of our vegetables.
Plenty of people have already spent a lot of time discussing the who, what, why, when, where, how, which,
whence,
how forth, henceforth. But today we're going to talk about what happens when you move forward.
We see that things are changing. We've been farming for 6 years, but we're already noticing that there are differences that are happening. For example, it seems to me like there's more like 8 seasons than 4, and there's all these different types of seasons that are kind of scattered in there.
Sub-seasons.
Little sub-seasons.
Little seasonings.
Even since we started farming, we've noticed that things have been extremely different.
From year to year.
Small example being at the beginning of November for the past 3 years, the temperature just plummets, and we have to prepare for a big frost for all of our fall crops.
November frost.
So sometimes they call it the polar plunge, the Arctic vortex, the quantum super chill.
Frost apocalypse.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Thanks.
So, for example, what we do when the frost is coming early, we cover all of our crops with row cover and Agribond.
We also spray an organic compound that's a seaweed extract, and what the seaweed does, it actually serves 2 purposes. One of them is it coats the plants. It's like putting a stinky sweater on the plants that protects the plants from the frost and the cold. It also gives the plants a nice nitrogen boost.
Yep, there are a lot of techniques and strategies that small farmers can utilize to protect the crops during the changing seasons and the erratic weather patterns.
There are also some crops that you just can't protect. For example, tomatoes can't survive in the cold no matter how much seaweed extract you spray. So another way we mitigate potential crop loss and damage to the farm is by diversifying what we plant, when we plant it, how we plant it, who, which, when, how, henceforth we plant it.
On our farm, we utilize what are called caterpillar tunnels, and we have 5 of them on our farm now, and basically everything that grows in the tunnels is going to just grow better than what's grown out in the field. We really just can't predict what's happening, so everything that's grown in the field is a little, we're hopeful for it all and we do the best we can, but there's a bigger chance that we're gonna lose those crops out there.
But we can't just grow everything in tunnels, because there's also something to be said for the resiliency that's built within the plants as they're exposed to environmental stressors like harsh winds, crazy droughts, big gully washing, bubble bursting, popping dump trucks full of rain.
The gully washers, I love those. So I think that produce that's grown in the Southeast is probably going to be the best produce there is.
Kind of the best. I mean,
it's going to be.
There's
it's
a
gonna
little
be pretty
room,
good.
a wiggle room there, but it's
And
pretty good.
There's a concept called Antifragility, where you stress things to a certain amount to make them stronger. For example, if it is really dry, instead of watering nonstop, we try to mulch our plants so that the roots of the plants will grow deeper into the soil and access deeper minerals and nutrients that are down there, thus strengthening the plant and getting better foliage. We don't really know where it's all going, and we are really just doing the best we can to mitigate things that are happening that are outside of literally anyone's control. So it keeps this job interesting and it keeps it fun, and when things do succeed, it's great, but we don't get too down on ourselves if they don't, because we're just trying here.
I was just going to say that everything changes, and we change, and sometimes we change into different versions of ourselves, and sometimes we don't even feel like we are ourselves.
I don't even know. I mean, like, when I think about myself, I'm not even sure. If
Like, are you even yourself?
how am I not myself?
How am I not myself?
How am I not
How am I not
myself?
myself?
How am I not
How am I not
myself?
myself? How am I not myself?
How
am I not myself? How am I not myself? How am I not myself? How am I not myself? How am I not myself? How am I not myself? How am I not myself? How am I not myself? How am I not myself? How am I not myself? How am I not myself? How am I not myself?
How
How am I not myself? How am I not myself? You see, when you get the blanket thing, you can relax because you realize that everything you could ever want or be, you already have and are.
Sure.
You see, there's no remainder in the mathematics of infinity. Resilience is the ability to identify risks and build the capacity to maintain or rapidly regain functionality and vitality in the face of chronic stressors or severe disturbances. I just made that up off the top of my head. Can you tell? So when we talk about building resiliency for the farm, we're actually talking about two different things. First, we're talking about building resiliency of the farm operation, which involves diversifying our crops, crop planning, and building resiliency of the business operation, mitigating potential failures. But we're also talking about building resiliency of the ecosystem that encompasses the farm. And we do this through various permaculture practices and other regenerative techniques.
We utilize erosion control through cover crops, and we try to catch our water through berm and swale systems. We plant pollinators on our berms and in different guilds to attract beneficial pollinators and insects that we want to have on the farm. All of these contribute to the farm itself being a system that can thrive in all these changing climate patterns.
Not even despite all these changing climate patterns, but because of these changing climate patterns, building resiliency allows this place, this land that we're stewarding, to blossom and thrive and grow and adapt and become stronger than it was before we got here.
There's a lot of doom and gloom out there about what's happening.
And in here.
And it's easy to get swept away into that. And it's easy to think, well, we're just going down the sinking ship and it's all just going to collapse. And it might, but we can't focus on that, because part of being a resilient farmer is keeping your mental space clear, keeping what they call PMA, positive mental attitude. So us as farmers, we are part of the resiliency techniques that we cover. There are other tricks and tools that we use in the field, such as if it gets too hot, we put shade cloth over our plants. We use mulching to
keep the ground covered, keep the soil moist, and provide habitat for the creatures that live above, below, and within the soil.
Yep. We use drip tape. We also use overhead irrigation and the caterpillar tunnels. All these things work fantastic on a small scale. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult to implement all of these practices on a very large scale. That's why we're here, and that's why we think that this style of small-scale farming is, dare I say, an answer or an antidote to the craziness of what's going on.
See, some of y'all talk about being part of the resistance, but we're part of
the resilience. Becoming Resilience in the face of everything that's happening will make you a stronger person.
Not just in the face of a changing climate, but in the face of a changing world.
Yep, there's economic disturbances, there's supply chain issues. God, we could just get on a whole tangent about everything that's going
I mean, we've got a
wrong.
toddler in our house and on the farm, so every single solitary day feels like a whole new paradigm from the previous 24-hour period. You never know what's going to happen. You've got to be resilient in the face of your own
Okay,
kids.
just let's take it down a notch.
Take it down a notch. I get a little
You're
bit.
at like a 7, and let's kind of bring it down to like maybe a 4.
I was at like
because
I was at a 6.
it's a heated
I was at a
conversation.
6, maybe 6.5.
It's a heated conversation.
6.75.
I mean,
at best.
there's a lot of organizations out there like the Open Spaces Coalition that are doing great things for the climate
And the marsh.
And the marsh. We've got to save the marsh because there's there's a rock that just sits.
And is.
Rock. We're doing what we can to be climate resilient farmers by building healthy soil, reducing our inputs, researching new tools and technologies of how to do this, and being as adaptive as possible, as quick as possible.
You see, your mind is always occupied on something, so it might as well be occupied on something helpful.
And yeah, you should probably wrap it up.
Wrap it up. You just can't deal with my infinite nature, can you?
Yes, I can. Wait, what does that even mean?
Oh, no time for infinity? Gotta piece together a theory?
You know, I'm starting to think that the interconnectedness thing is definitely for real.
It is. I mean, I didn't think it wasn't, but it is.
I know, it's fantastic. I
It's
can't
amazing.
believe it.
It's also nothing special, though.
Because it grows from the manure of human existence.